For my personal growth project, I learned how to play lacrosse. My mentor was my twin sister, Lawson. She was the perfect mentor for me because she was the captain of her lacrosse team in high school. And I wanted to learn how to play because she and my little sister play lacrosse, and I wanted to be able to join with them, and I think that it's a very fun sport. The project was organized into 2 sessions where I had to learn 3 different skills during each session. So here we go. So far, so good. We just caught 10 in a row. Caught and threw 10 in a row.
Well, and while you're running. Don't grip it, you don't. Through your fingers. Sure. What?
I'm so...
Cradle, yeah!
During the first session, Lawson offered a good bit of feedback because it was quite the learning curve for me to learn how to catch and throw the ball, and especially learn how to cradle it. And whenever she gave me this feedback, it was a little frustrating. As you can see from the video, I dropped the ball multiple times. But she continued to encourage me, and eventually she told me it's all about the centripetal force. And that's whenever I was really able to latch onto it. So the feedback was a little frustrating, but in the end, it definitely paid off because I was able to actually successfully do the skill. So we are about to start session 2 of lacrosse. We're here in a gym with all the light that we need. And we're going to learn 3 skills today. One is just the knowledge of the game and how to play lacrosse. The second is how to do the draw at the beginning of the game, kind of like in basketball when you throw the basketball up. And the third is how to shoot and score a point. So here we go. During session 2, Lawson's feedback was actually very encouraging. She told me that I was doing a really good job, and a couple of times I would shoot the ball, or we actually ended up playing a little one-on-one game at the end, and she told me that I was aggressive, and she said that it would have actually been a lot of fun to have me on her lacrosse team at the end of the year last year. So that was really exciting for me, and I enjoyed her feedback this time. As I did my personal growth project, I found that there were 5 concepts from the class that I was able to tie to the things that I learned while I completed the project. The first is resilience. And I like to say that this is a very small example of resilience. But resilience is the capacity to prepare for disruptions, recover from shocks and stresses, and adapt and grow from a difficult experience. There were a couple times where resilience was needed during this project. One was that it was really hard for me and Lawson to get our schedules coordinated so that we could both do a session together. That was one of the most challenging parts of this project, actually, and it required some resilience to just keep moving and stick with the process, and it showed resilience from her as well. And the second thing was just difficult skills. When things were frustrating and when I dropped the ball 7 times before I actually felt like I was cradling correctly, I felt that there was a small example of resilience in that. The second is increased self-awareness. And from some of the lectures that we did, we learned that increased self-awareness comes from receiving valid and honest feedback, reflection, and expanding your comfort zone. I think I did all of these during this personal growth project as I received feedback from Lawson, as I thought about how it went and how I handled the situations. And sports are a lot of times out of my comfort zone, especially one that involves a stick. I've never done that before. So that was the second thing that I learned. The third is positive and negative feedback. And specifically positive and negative process feedback. while we were learning, Lawson offered both of these. She offered positive process feedback whenever she said that I was being aggressive, and that was a good thing. And so for the rest of the day, I continued to be aggressive while we did the session. And some negative process feedback that she gave me was that I needed to make a semicircle with my lacrosse stick and get that centrifugal force once again, and that is something that I wasn't doing before. So she was saying, hey, you need to do better at this, and this allowed me to make a change because she was able to give me this feedback in the midst of the process. The fourth thing that I learned about is followership. And what I really liked is this graph that we were shown on the lectures, and that is that leadership comes whenever you can have a leader, you can be a leader, a follower, and recognize context. In this situation, I was a leader whenever I initiated our sessions and whenever I had a good attitude. But also I was a follower while I was hearing from Lawson and learning from her experience and having her teach me how to do this. And then the context of this was my personal growth project as we learned how to play lacrosse. And so I really sensed what it meant to find leadership in the midst of followership as I did during this process. And the fifth thing that I wanted to point out from the course is group dynamics. And group dynamics has so much to do with building relationships with people. And one of my main motivations for doing this project and for making Lawson my mentor was that she could be my mentor and that we could continue to develop our relationship through this. And it ended up being so much fun. And it was something that just the two of us could do together, something that she could teach me. And it ended up being a great thing for our relationship. And as I said, those group dynamics was one of my main motivations for doing it in the first place. While I did this personal growth project, I learned 3 things about myself. The first thing is that I'm driven by relationships. Whenever I was trying to decide on my topic, I was going back and forth between a couple things that I have always wanted to learn. But one of the things that really pushed this project over the top, just as I was talking about earlier, is that I was going to get to do it with Lawson. And I thought that that would be a lot of fun for us. And just like I said, it's something that we could do one-on-one. A lot of times we're just always with family. And it was just so much fun to learn lacrosse from her. So that really was a driving factor for me. And it was something that I considered while I looked at a lot of other options as well, was who could be my mentor and how could this relationship grow from doing this. So that was a big motivator for me. The second thing is that I am goal-oriented. During the whole process of us learning, every time we had a skill to achieve, I wasn't just okay with doing it a couple times saying, okay, we're good. I wanted to have a goal. So, we threw the ball back and forth 10 times. I went around the tree 3 times. I wanted to hit the mat 5 times. And so I was just very goal-oriented, and that's kind of what made me feel like I was successful and like I actually did a good job. And the third thing is just that sports are exhausting for me, but also that they're very fun. And like I said, I don't play all the time. I like to explore those skills that I have, but it is quite tiring, and it would take a lot out of me to say, let's go do an entire lacrosse game, because that's a lot of running. But anyway, so these are some of the things that I learned about myself, that I am driven by relationships, that I am goal-oriented, and that sports are fun but tiring. In the future, I will use this project and the skills that I learned to play with my sisters, to play lacrosse, and to hopefully just spend time with them and have a lot of fun doing something that's energetic, not just watching a movie. I think that is really one of the biggest ways that I will use what I learned in the future, is just spending time with my sisters and also continuing relationships and just having fun together. What this project taught me about my leadership ability is how much it has to do with followership, how much it has to do with listening and being willing to learn from other people. I have always considered myself a leader, but at the same time, that requires being willing to learn, to be a follower, to accept that you don't know everything. And when it came to lacrosse, I didn't really know anything. So I think I grew a lot from being able to learn from my sister, to be a follower, and to be someone who's willing to accept that they don't know everything, but see how that followership can actually lead into their leadership ability later on in the future.